Today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into our high Ds. We're going to give you a quick refresher from that 10,000 foot view. Then we're going to start talking about words to describe a high D. We're going to give you 6 of those. We're going to give you a word that's what we call a watchword, something to be mindful of if your high D in your life, if that's you, gets under stress, anxiety, or is sleep deprived, kind of like I am today. We're going to talk about the likes. What do these Ds like and what do they like about life? And then we're going to talk about how to motivate a high D. And so those all are important in terms of understanding yourself if you're a high D, but more importantly, understanding others. So let's break it down. High Ds, number one, they are dominant. They are dominant. They always have to be in charge. So when you're working with a high D and they want your job, which is what they do in the industry because they want to climb that ladder, how do we work with them? Well, the best way to do that is put them in charge of people or a process. So I can come over here and have them working in a group and say, okay, I want you to handle this discussion right here. Give me your feedback, what's going on, make sure we have all of our goals accomplished. And then I come over here and say, okay, well maybe it's in charge of a process. So from a process standpoint, I want you to make sure that all of these things are being done by your team in a timely manner, not necessarily coaching the people, but just making sure that things are being executed in an orderly fashion. That's how dominant people are going to be able to have buy-in. And so let's talk about it from a personal standpoint. 2 stories to share with you. Number one, I'm married to a high D style. She is a C-D blend. And so as we start talking about what C's are, we'll gather that a little bit later. But she is always wanting to be in charge. So this is where we kind of break these gender roles. Too many people think that guys are always about going out there, killing something, dragging it home, and the women are supposed to be caregivers and the moms and things. And so we understand from personality styles that that's just not the case. So my wife is the driven one in our family. She's the one who's making sure that all the kids get their homework done and are going to the best colleges and those kind of things. Versus me, where I'm just the guy who loves to play board games and have fun with the kids. So another D kind of quality in terms of being dominant is when you have a high D child. Oh, man, I've got my firstborn's a high D. And so she wants to be the boss in everything. She wants to pick out what she wears. She wants to pick out what she eats for breakfast, what she eats for lunch, all that kind of stuff. And so as a parent, that's a super challenge when we're talking about bedtimes. And you people know who you are out there who've had a high D child, whether you knew it or not, fighting you about when to go to bed. How do we solve that problem? Pretty simple. You say to your high D child, hey, person, let's just call them Bob. Hey, Bob, go to bed whenever you want to tonight. And they're going to say, what, for real? I said, yeah, you can go to bed whenever you want to, as long as it's between 9 and 10 p.m. So I can go to bed whenever. I can go to bed at 9:59? Yep. 9:02? Sure. 9:59 and 30 seconds? Absolutely. Okay, well, you watch. And so they'll stay up late or they won't or whatever. But when 9:59 comes, the lights go out. Now that may seem like a kind of a cheesy way to handle that behavior, but it works because they feel like they're in charge. And in fact, they are in charge of when they go to bed within the parameters that you set. So they feel like they're winning in terms of, yes, I decided when I went to bed, but also you as the parent are winning because you chose that range. High Ds are direct. They're not going to use 6 words.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Dude, chill, D. I'm filming here, man. Okay, so push that D off to the side. He's going to interrupt me. That's what Ds do. When something comes into their brain, they're going to be like, dude, I need you now. Focus, right here on me. I'm like, whoa, dude, chill pill. Ds are direct. They're going to tell you what they want. They're going to say it. No sugarcoating, no fuzzy unicorns and rainbows. It's going to be straight facts. So when you go talk to them, you got to give them straight facts. And if you back down from that, then they're going to consider you maybe a little bit from a weak standpoint or from a weak posture, especially when you're dealing with sales or in business situations. We teach people how to identify personality styles through email. And one of the easiest ones to predict is our high Ds. So I can send out a proposal to a high D and it will say, hey, Jim, did you get my proposal? His response will be, yep. And? Well, did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you throw it in the trash, start from scratch? Well, that's not what you asked him. You just said, did you get the proposal? And he said yes. In fact, it might not even be yes. It might just be the letter Y because they're going to have 4,000 other emails they've got to get through and they've got to execute. So they're going to be very direct in their communication. They're not doing it to be rude. They just have other things to do. Ds are demanding. They're demanding of themselves and others. If you're working with a high D who's a supervisor and they're working a 12-hour day, guess what? You better be working a 12-hour day too because Ds are not going to demand any more from you than they do from themselves. So when do we see this in a personal situation? Well, sometimes we see that from a housekeeping perspective. If you have a high D spouse and they're working and gosh knows, you just want to sit down for 2 minutes and watch television. We got things to do like laundry. We got to clean the bathrooms because we're going to Lowe's tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning and then we're going to go cut the grass and do this. Make it stop, make it stop. But D's can't stop because they're always going and they're going to be demanding of you and of themselves. They're going to take whatever facts they have and make a decision. D's trust their gut quite a few times. In business situations, D's are going to see, okay, we've got this amount of money over here, this project hasn't been done before here, and so let me go talk to these people for just a second, get one more piece of data, and then I'm done. I'm making a decision. And quite frankly, they don't want your opinion. D's make decisions on their own. That's why they like being the boss. A lot of D's are going to be entrepreneurs that you'll find out there because they don't like answering to other people. They like being the main one in charge. And so from that perspective, D's are going to take care of business. They're super, super executors in that regard. D's are determined. They are determined. Never met a challenge that they couldn't face. Hurdles are nothing for them. In sales situations, that 50th no is just another point towards getting a yes. They're going to keep going and going and going. They don't get too personal when it comes to hearing people say no to them. It's very transactional for them. When you have a high D son or daughter who's determined, you really don't have to influence them. You really don't have to motivate them because they're self-motivated, that intrinsic motivation, because they want to be the best. And so a high D is going to want to get the best grades, perform the best in sports, be the best quiz bowl person ever. They are fueled by that winning mentality, by being the best at what they're good at. My daughter is a CD blend, my oldest. She's applying for, as of this filming, she's applying for schools. And she visited all of the schools that she was interested in colleges her junior year. All that stuff was done. So she had all of her applications filled out in the first 2 days that they were all open. It's just crazy how determined she is to have all of her ducks in a row all the time. And so she's going and going and going all the time as being a D. So when we say determined, just know that they're not going to stop until they get what they want. And sometimes that can be problematic because they might bend the rules or break the rules to get what they want. And that's something we'll have to talk about in a future video. And D's are doers, going all the time. I mean, these people are petitioning Congress for a 36-hour day. There's just not enough time in the day to get all their stuff done. In fact, if they were doing this video right now, they'd be like, okay, D's are doers, right? Okay, so we're doing jumping jacks. I'm getting my cardio in at the same time that I'm doing this video and everything's great. Of course, we're not going to do that because I'm not a D, but D's are always going and moving all the time. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough companies that they can own. There's not enough employees that they have to manage. There's not enough activities they can be involved in outside of work. They're involved in the, in the chess club, or maybe they're in orchestra, or maybe they're on a running team, or they're in a bowling league, going and going and going all the time. Their mentality is, I can sleep when I'm dead. So they're going to push and push and push and push. Super high energy folks, these D's. Now D's, those were 6 positive words that describe you. And then we're going to give your style and all the styles we talk about. The 7th word, we call it a watchword. And again, that watchword is something to be mindful of as a behavior that's going to be exhibited when a style is under anxiety, stress, or has some sleep deprivation going on. And for D's, your watchword is defiant. That's right, you can be a little defiant. A personal example might be on the way to work, you pull out that phone, pop up in a GPS, it says you're going to arrive by 8:02, 7:58, and you're driving over, beating squirrels, knocking over ladies on the side of the road. You don't care as long as you beat that time. For you, it's a competition. It's a challenge. Yes, I'm going to beat the time. And other styles are like, dude, what are you doing? You're driving excess speeds and you're breaking rules and you're not stopping at stop signs. But it's a challenge for them. These are influenced by challenges. And so they don't see this as a, hey, when should you possibly get to work? No, this is a time to beat. I'm going to set the record. It should take me 10 minutes. I'm going to do it in 7. So from that standpoint, in the business world also, D's, if they don't see the purpose and the rationale behind what you're doing in terms of a process, they might just skip a step. So if you've got a 5-step sales process and 3 is submitting the paperwork so that you can actually bill the client, they're out there selling to the next person, next person, next person. If they don't see the value in that, because they're still getting paid anyway, they might just slide past that. So we really need to make sure that under stress, you're putting these burdens on these D's, that we give them purpose and reason behind why they do what they do, because if they don't, they might skip steps along the way, which is going to hurt you in the long run. So those are the words that we use to describe high Ds. Now let's move on into the words that we use when we're talking about the likes of our high Ds. And the first one is that Ds like to win. They like to win anytime, every time. I mean, this is like the little 5-year-old kid that's playing checkers with their grandma, and they're going to win. They're going to go, woo, in your face, Granny, let's go, let's go. And you're like, oh, dude, do you even want to have a relationship with your grandmother? So they don't know how to lose because winning is everything for them. People talk about them having bad tempers or they're rotten losers. Well, they're not rotten losers. They're just wired to win anytime, all the time. Ds like to plan for the future. As again, my daughter has her entire college, and post-college situation already planned out. Ds are that same way. They want to know what's going on from where am I going to college, what's going to happen in 7th grade, how am I going to transition from being an 8th grader to a freshman versus out there in the business world or the working world. What am I going to do with my next paycheck? When's my next raise going to be? What's our next vacation? They're always looking forward and looking forward. Ds love new ideas. They love new ideas. The latest, greatest gadget, the latest, greatest article, they're all about reading and finding out what's innovative, what's going on in the world. So from a business perspective, we can talk about how Ds love to kind of focus way out there. What's my 6-month projection? What's my 12-month projection? And then sell that company because they're done with it. They hate maintenance. So they'll start a company, they'll grow up for 2 years, and they'll sell it and they'll get out. Oh, let me start a car wash company. They'll grow that for 2 years. Let me start a genetics lab. And so it could be totally different. But anytime there's new ideas, new influx, they're loving it. So they do that a lot to their employees. If you have a high D CEO, they're going to see an article. Oh, let's implement in our company. Oh, this is about culture. We could be better at culture. Boom, they implement that. So they're always looking for the next best thing. Ds love results. Don't give them excuses. Give them results. Okay, in the working world, again, if you have a high D boss, they want you to get your stuff done, get it done on time, the right way, all the time. And so they don't really care about the excuses. They're all about, did you do it or did you not do it? And so where a high S style, which is, again, that supportive type, that people-oriented style, might have more empathy, these don't really have a lot of that. It's not a bad thing because, again, they're really, really good at execution, but they're all about the results. So give me your results, not your excuses. When it comes to your kids, it's the same way. They want you to have that paper signed for them so they can take it back to school and like, whoa, dude, just chill out. I mean, you've got to the end of the week, but they're getting their homework done as soon as they possibly can because they got to get their results and get it done so they can get to the next thing that's going. Ds love to be their own boss. They have to be their own boss. Again, think about this entrepreneurial mentality or the project manager, someone who's in charge of people or process. They have to be in somewhere where that's going on because if it's not, they're going to feel like they need to get to that next step. They need to get to that next step. And so that's a problem for them. They can't just stay where they are. They have to be in a position of authority. That's just the way they're wired. And again, if you have children that are high Ds, you've got to give them a little bit more authority early on when they're children than you would a high S or maybe even a high C. And we'll talk about that as we get to it. But Ds have got to be in charge of people and process to get buy-in. Ds love to move fast. They're not slowing down for anyone, anything. They tell fast jokes, they talk fast, they move fast, they do it all the time. So if I spend too much time on this slide for the Ds and I'm spending too much time in this moment on this video, Ds are like, dude, come on, we know who we are. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So I'm moving on to the next one. And how do we motivate a high D? We motivate a high D by challenging them. We challenge them. If I'm challenging, let's say, one of my best salespeople who happens to be a high D, here's how that would look. I would say, Sylvia, super job last month. 20% increase in our sales. That was great. You were 18% the last month. Life is great. Next quarter is going to be 32% sales growth. It's never been done before. Quite frankly, I don't think you can do it, but that's what the plan is, 32%. Good luck, go get them. So everything about that was fine. I talked about their good stuff, and good stuff, and good stuff. Everything was good until I said, and quite frankly, I don't think you can do it. So if Sylvia would have been standing there on the side, she would have said, excuse me? What'd you say to me? Boy, and the blood starts to boil and they just anger starts to feel that it's like the Incredible Hulk coming out. They feel challenged personally by that. And so they're going to go out there and do anything and everything they can to sell hard, sell fast, do whatever they can so that middle of that quarter when they come back in, they'll come in and they'll say, oh yes, you said it was 32% sales growth was my goal. We're 2 months in and I'm at 45%. Mic drop and they walk away. They just walk out of the room and you're like, dude, what just happened? What just happened was you challenged them, and so they take that personally to beat whatever their goal is out of spite. Now, so what happens when we're talking about our kids in terms of challenges, okay? And how do we challenge them? It's the same process. You got to be on that test, and that was great, but an A would be awesome next time. You really haven't shown us that you can make an A in that class yet. I know chemistry's hard, but it is what it is. I just don't think you can do it, but that's, let's just shoot for an A. Again, everything was great until I told them, you can't do that. Tell a D they can't do something and watch them just soar, because they will take off. So Ds, I hope that this helps you understand yourself better. And if you're not a D, I hope that you now have some awareness of how these Ds think, how they communicate, and what motivates them. And if I piqued your curiosity a little bit, click on the link below if you would like to take an assessment to transform the way you communicate, really improve the way that you work with your relationships with significant others, spouses, in the workplace, and reduce conflict in any relationship that you have.